Today I'm going to be discussing something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is US politics. I grew up in a fairly conservative household, but we were always really encouraged to discuss our ideas, our beliefs, that sort of thing. And we were never, banned from saying anything or anything like that. We could, as long as we can back up our opinion, it was always very encouraged for us to do so. I started getting kind of interested in politics like I was in middle school during Obama's first election, which was very historic. The first time I ever voted was Obama versus Romney, and that's kind of when my interest in it started getting a little bit more in depth. And then this last election, regardless of kind of what your political beliefs are, was very intense. Everything from the primaries, the scandals with that, and even just the debates between Trump and Clinton were they were very much at each other's throats, which was very entertaining to watch. Um, since Trump's been our president, and even a little bit before, although he's known for many things, two of the main things have been his continued use of Twitter, just allowing him to directly talk to people, kind of bypassing that fake news. The other thing, since he's taken office, has been his executive orders, which is kind of what I'd like to analyze today, specifically the Muslim ban, if it's truly a ban on Muslims, and kind of how the whole process works on that. So to begin, I'd like to start with what an executive order is. An executive order is from the executive branch of government, the president. He signs anything that they deem fit into law. This could include anything from a travel ban, which is what we've seen and we have seen in the past. I'll discuss that in a moment. Gun rights, healthcare, you name it, there's very likely an executive order on it. Now, in order to keep with the checks and balances system in our country, the executive orders are subject to judicial review, which is currently where this executive order is. Now, to kind of give it some historical context, bans like this have been implemented in the past. The earliest example, or one of the earliest examples, I should say, was actually Jimmy Carter during the the Iranian hostage crisis. Excuse me. This took place in 1979. It was Executive Order 12172, and basically what this did is it deported any people that were here from Iran on violated visas. This actually deported about 7,000 students that were studying here for having said violations. A similar thing, or a similar ban, actually happened in between 2009 and 2011. During 2009, the FBI was investigating people that had come here through the refugee program that had actually been designing and sending those plans back over to the Middle East of IEDs that were blowing up our boots on the ground over there. After they were arrested in 2011, the suspects, that is, the U.S. State Department actually issued a 6-month ban on visas from Iran. So this isn't anything that's new. Now, the ban itself, this is a quote from Fox News. Just to kind of paraphrase what this is about, it's saying that it's imposing a 120-day suspension of the refugee program and a 90-day travel ban to the following countries: Iran, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Libya, and the Sudan. These are all terrorist hot zones. Now, if you actually look at and read the executive order that Trump signed, nowhere in it does it actually ban Muslims or any race or creed in particular. It's simply a suspension of travel and visas from these countries in order to have the government come up with a better vetting process, so we don't end up with terror instances like the San Bernardino attacks, the Boston Marathon bombing, that sort of thing. Now, a lot of it's even as I said in the beginning of my speech, it's become known as the Muslim ban, but that's not necessarily the best name for it. I'm going to be quoting World Atlas here, and these are the countries with the highest Muslim populations in the world. The first being Indonesia at 200 million, Pakistan at 176 million, India with 167 million, Bangladesh with 134 million, followed by Nigeria at 77.3 million. Now, none of these countries are banned, so it's not anything against Muslims or any sort of race, religion, sex, anything like that. It's strictly those countries that have a terrorist problem. So in conclusion, this is going to be a temporary ban on travel and refugees from terrorist hot zones. It doesn't ban Muslims. It doesn't ban Muslims from every part of the world or anything short of that. So it's simply a way to give the government more time to allow a better vetting process for people that can come into our country. The other thing that I'd like to conclude is whenever you're looking at topics like this, make sure that you look from multiple sources. That way you get the most in-depth picture that you can and get the most information. You're not falling prey to any sort of political agenda or anything of the sort. So thank you for listening.